Wonderful. Wunderbar. Your channel. Okay, cool. It does work. Amazing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerd Culture once again. I'm your host for today, Travis, and you, of course, are watching the Nerd and Chill playlist run by our wonderful member known as Caroline, but we're taking over today. And by we, I mean none other than Ryan Permison. Say hello, Ryan.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. This is going to be a great show. I think, in fact, it's going to be more phenomenal.
Oh, you think so?
Yes.
I want to believe you. I really do. I really want to believe you. But, Ryan, we have a little special one today, so I don't know if... Basically, you guys can tell from the title when this goes up on YouTube fully and stuff. We are going to be talking about some childhood moments. We're kind of we're hitting close to home with this one because I think me and Ryan both share the same thing, where this is one of the many shows that we used to watch when we were younger. This is definition one of my childhoods, and we'll just give them a little hint. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and show them what we're wearing?
Yeah, I put on this special outfit for today's show because I knew we were going to be talking about a show that's been going on for several years, several decades, several generations, and we're going to take a trip because right now Earth isn't doing so well, so we might as well get in our Astro Megaship and blast off into space. That's what we're going to be talking about. Power Rangers in Space. It's 22 years young this year. It came out in 1998. It aired on Fox Kids. 43 episodes. An incredible cast, some good storylines, some good moments. Some of the most iconic moments in Power Rangers history did occur during the course of this season. And we're going to dive in and talk about some of our favorite moments, some of the things we may not have liked, some things we may, if we were in creative control, we may have wanted to improve on, and things of that nature.
I have a good amount of those, actually.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, whether we talk about the positives or negatives, at the end of the day, we enjoyed this show. We enjoy it now for several reasons, and we're going to take a trip back into memory lane and talk about it with you.
Yes. So that being said, Ryan, let's rock it.
Galaxy Glider, hang 10.
I literally had to say that at some point. Now, for starters, this show, we are going to be talking obviously about Power Rangers in Space. This is basically the season of Power Rangers that came out in
1998.
98. Okay, and this was the season right before Lost Galaxy, correct?
Yes, it was.
Correct. All right, cool. So basically, we're going to be talking about Power Rangers Lost in Space the entirety of the season. Me and Ryan decided that we went and binge-watched the season, so that way we could, and we thought it'd be fun that since we had all that nostalgia coming back, that we could sit here and basically talk about really anything for the next few moments, whether it's ranging from who our favorite characters were, our favorite moments, maybe, and then, of course, things that we didn't like. So basically, let's start off with the general synopsis of the show. So basically, everybody kind of knows. Oh, look, I even have the Power Rangers poster literally right behind me. I didn't even realize that lined up so perfectly. So I'm on the angle it, so now there we go. Now it's always there. So basically, Power Rangers in Space was a 1998 reboot of the series, and basically it followed new cast members. Some of them actually leaked over from Turbo, I believe, the seasons prior.
Yes, they were the second team of Rangers that replaced the Legends that retired midway through Turbo. They took over during the second half of Turbo, and then they transitioned to In Space, and they claimed that season and those characters and those Rangers as their own.
Yes. So from there, we basically follow those previous Rangers that have kind of been without their powers now, moving into the next chapter of their lives, where they finally take the adventure to space, where they run into a new companion who is, of course, if you're a fan, you will know the general information, was Andros, the Red Ranger that was actually not technically human. They really played with the dynamic of basically there being different planets, solar systems. So that way there are many other planets like, is it KO-23?
No, KO-35.
35, dang it. I haven't watched it for like 2 weeks, and I'm like already starting to forget my stuff. We'll see how the rest of this conversation goes.
Oh,
KO-35, and that's where Andros comes from, basically, and that's just one of those things where it's like it's basically just like Earth, except everybody there, it's like they dress like kind of futuristically, so it feels like alien-like, and he has the ability to levitate. My main issue with that is they kept emphasizing he had the ability to levitate things, but I never really saw him utilize it in any serious scenarios. You notice that?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, he used it in the opening of the series, the season, a few episodes in, he used it, and then a episode or two later, he used it again, and then it kind of just a little bit went by the wayside to focus on the main storyline, which is between the Rangers, Astronema, Ecliptor, and Darkonda, and all those other characters. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny how they used that one thing to even more elaborate that he was from a different world, and then they showed him like showing it off. They even had one of the other characters, which I'll definitely get into. I want to get into all the characters as quickly as we can, but Zane, who was the Silver Ranger, he even had that ability because he was the backstory. He was Andros' childhood friend from KO-35. So, and they all had that ability, and we saw scenes where they would like show it off, like trying to teach the other humans, like as if we had the ability to do it. They're like a more evolved, version of us, but they never used it in like battle or stuff. I thought that was a big miss right there because I thought that would have been very useful and honestly very creative in some of those moments. But I think they just used it to basically separate the two to be like, oh yeah, he's just not normal. He's this next step in evolution. But then these guys, they're humans dealing with like a few like a more amped up human. So it's like they're trying to make that interesting space dynamic. They really tried to play off of aliens and creatures just so everything else would like kind of be more phantasmal, if that's a word I can try to use, which I thought was I still thought it was cool, but I kind of thought that wole levitation thing, I thought they could have utilized that a little bit more. But regardless, Andros was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he certainly was different kind of ranger, different kind of background, different kind of setting. Of course, they've been on Earth for the longest time, and they blast off into space with the Astro Mega ship provided by their good friends at NASADA. You can't call it NASA; you have to call it NASADA. In the Angel Grove Power Rangers universe. But Andros is he was a good character. He was a bit of a lone wolf. He's been doing everything on his own for the longest time that he can remember. Zane, which we'll get into a little bit later on, cryogenically frozen for 2 years plus. So you had that going on and all that stuff. So yeah, Zane is or not Zane, excuse me. Andros is he was an interesting character. He really was.
And also crazy hair for the 90s, wouldn't you say? Like he was the only dude. I remember as a kid when I watched him, I saw he had the long hair and he had like, it was my color, but then he had the blonde streaks going through it. I'm like, that's a 90s rocker dude right there, which makes sense because I'm pretty sure he tried to start his own rock band during that time, or I think after the show and whatnot. So I think that's why he was kind of actually, I think it was before, because I don't know if you noticed this, but like early on in the seasons, in the first few episodes, when they had a couple of shots where they were close up on his hands, you could see he had like long-ish fingernails because he would use them for finger picking. So like he had like, I think he was still transitioning out of the band stuff when he was doing the show. So it's kind of like little funny things. If you know the guy and you know the character and you know the backstory, it all adds up. It's really funny. But let's do a rundown of the characters really quick. So first of all, we have definitely we have Andros, the Red Ranger, who is from KO-35, obviously.
Right.
And then going down the rest of the list, we have who?
Are we going to the primary Rangers and then the sixth Ranger, or where are we going with this?
Well, yeah, just primary Rangers,
okay.
and then we'll.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, so after Andros, you have Selwyn Ward, who plays the Blue Ranger TJ. You have Roger Velasco, who plays Carlos, the Black Ranger. You have Patricia Jha Lee, played Cassie, the Pink Ranger, and of course, you have Tracy Lynn Cruz, who plays Ashley, the Yellow Ranger, and then the sixth Ranger, who comes in later on in the season. That is Justin Nemo. He takes on the character of Zane, the Silver Ranger in this case.
Yes. So basically, talking about the team as a dynamic, I thought that was I thought it was somewhat really interesting because I actually liked how I think for me it was the first time in a good bit where we saw it where when it started off they weren't already like friends kind of like grouping up a little bit. It was like the rest of the team besides Andros already had a companionship. They were already together, and it starts off with them like getting like onto the ship, and they run into Andros, who basically at first runs from them and doesn't trust them because he thinks that they're enemies, and it takes an episode or two for him to like really get on board with them. Yeah, and have them actually become a team because they're just literally from two different worlds. I thought that was an interesting dynamic to start with because then it shows like, all right, not everything is going to be as easy. Not everything's going to fall into play immediately. I mean, it's Power Rangers, you know, it's for kids, so like it kind of like they address a problem and they fix it pretty quickly. But still, I like that they did that, to know that they weren't on the same side quite when immediately meeting. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, they just, you know, the Rangers, they know at this point in the beginning, the Rangers don't have their powers anymore. They bump into this guy and they're like, wait a minute, this Red Ranger, what is this? What is this all about? Who's this guy? And they find out who he is. So yeah, there are some good, interesting group dynamics with this team, especially in the early part of it when they're trying to figure out who is this Red Ranger and can we really trust him or not? Is this going to work out or not? Is this ship going to really be able to help us locate Zordon, or are we going to be, you know, blast off somewhere else where we can't even get a way out of? We could be zapped into a black hole or whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And that was the other thing. I like how they had the whole season driven by the general synopsis is that they were trying to find Zordon because he got captured. And the whole thing is them just trying
Divatox. Of all people, they get captured by Divatox. And then Divatox transfers him over to Astronema, who's a way better villain than Divatox. No offense, Hillary Shepard Turner.
No, way better villain. I honestly agree with you a little bit.
Way better villain.
See, I think so. Basically, the synopsis was that all that happened, and they spend the whole entire season trying to find Zordon, and there's no spoilers here. We're talking about it because we're talking about our favorite moments. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But I would stop now. But so it took them the whole season to finally find Zordon. So like there wasn't like really. I thought there would be moments where they probably get him back like midway through, and then they try to like regroup and stuff. But it kind of took the whole season. And they kind of used the other characters that they established in this world to try to like build their own adventure. So the main one was like on the evil aspect of it. We did have ones like Astronema, who was the main villain and force, of course, but she was being ruled by the evil force, like everybody was, like by Dark Spectre. So there was that, and then we had I'm starting to blank on his name. Who was Astronema's like second in command? Like that was like a father figure to her.
Ecliptor.
Okay, then there was Ecliptor, and then you basically have all the other basic thugs that are like newly created for the show, or ones that are kind of coming back from the older seasons like Turbo and whatnot. So you had a mixture of everything. But these new ones, first off, let's get into the evil side of it really quick. So Astronema, I thought really good like antagonist to go up against and everything, and I really love the dynamic they played between her and Andros because of the fact that like. That was the first one I think they ever did where they kind of played it up like more like soap opera-y, where it's like, or Star Wars-esque, if you can say, where it's like instead of you're my father, it's like you're my sister, and it's like, and then there's like that family dynamic, like wait, we're trying to kill each other, you're evil. It's like it's that whole Luke and Anakin situation where it's just like I can save you, father, please, that sort of thing. They never really did that in the shows before. So the fact that this, and keep in mind, this is when we watched them when we were younger. Like I was like so little that I was new to all this stuff. So this was like fantastic for me, so like back then this stuff really sells in. Watching it again, the show still holds up pretty well. Like, yes, because 90s, kids shows, there are some cringe moments and whatnot. But overall, I'll be honest, in comparison to watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, this one was a little more better developed, since they've been at it for a few years. It was more bearable to watch because Mighty Morphin, I'll admit, going back and watching it now, I was watching it just going, oh, I mean, I love it, but it's kind of hard to watch now because it's just a little too camped. Like it's a little too campy, but that's like before they started flourishing new ideas and everything, coming up with stuff like what they did in this season as well. So I thought Astronema was a really good thing to add in. I love that dynamic of her realizing there's always there's history with these characters that we're playing with, that every episode we learn a little bit more, and then it unlocks a new door, and then like it reveals like that somebody isn't who they seem, or there was someone we didn't even know about. Elaborated on it. It made a really good dynamic for the show. So I really like that, and I love the whole thing with Ecliptor. I liked that. When they got to the point where Astronema realized that she knew who she really was. She was Andros' sister, and then she was starting to have like kind of fights with her, her mortality and everything. And then it's weird because she gets love from both sides, where you would think it'd be an easy choice of like, don't stay with the evil side, go to the good guys. But then you have Dark Spectre, who's like not Dark Spectre, Ecliptor. God.
Mhm.
I don't know why I get those two mixed up. Ecliptor actually kind of like cared for her and literally said it. You treated her like a father figure and everything. And there was kind of like a love there. So it's like they made you, even as a kid, kind of want to root for both sides a little bit because it's like you kind of want to understand her, even from an evil aspect, which I thought was really good. I love the whole family dynamic. I thought, I mean, it's been now at this point, it's been done before, but it's just really, it made the show just a little bit better. I was just like, ooh, what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. It's much different than what they've done in previous seasons and other series like that. You know, Astronema, Ecliptor, even Darkonda, I thought was good. Dark Spectre, let's not forget, Dark Spectre is literally Malagor.
Darkonda pissed me off.
Well, here's the thing. Well, before we get into that, I will say Dark Spectre was Malagor from Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. This guy gets killed off at the end of the Turbo movie, and all of a sudden they bring him back like, hey, he's Dark Spectre. He runs all the evil empires, not Lord Zed like he did in Mighty Morphin and
Power
Zeo.
Rangers, baby.
It's
I know, but there's
hardly Turbo. The series picks up right after the movie, except for the fact that Malagor comes back to be Dark Spectre and in space. So there's not much continuity with these series. But anyway, that's a story for another day entirely.
There never has been. Full disclosure, there never has been. The realistic from a logistics standpoint, it was we need to make another season. Let's just bring what worked back.
Bring the same people.
Yeah,
bring in the same people. But no. Yeah, the Astronema villain and Ecliptor, literally, and the actors from the show describe it perfectly. This is literally Power Rangers Star Wars edition. It literally
That's why it's in space. It all makes sense.
So the dynamic between Astronema, Andros, but you find out about them later on, that was good. Darkonda, did he tick me off? Not necessarily. I mean, is he like the villain? He's like a version of a cockroach. You just can't get rid of him. But
I know that's why.
But it makes sense. He's literally a cat that has 9 lives because he reveals that map at the end of the series where he says, "With only 1 life left, I'm sick and tired of being under the thumb of Astronema, Dark Spectre, Ecliptor. I got to destroy these people before they destroy me." Blah blah blah. So it makes sense. And Darkonda, I thought was a good villain. But every time he gets close to accomplishing his goal, they pull him away. And this is one of the things that bothers me about the series. Every time a villain gets close to finishing the job, someone says, "Oh wait, no, we got to pull him back because we need to save him for the next episode, or we got to save him for the next one, and the next this, and the next that."
Yeah.
If someone's going to accomplish a job, even if one ranger died throughout this entire season, those raise the stakes. That would have been awesome, but they can't do it. And by the way,
I know
whenever somebody says, "I want you to destroy the Rangers," you can't say the words that we all want them to say. I want you to kill them. I want you to kill the Rangers. Get rid of them.
Because it's a child show.
It's a kid's show, and FCC would not let you use those words on a children's television series. So that I get, but at the same time, it's like, this show was somewhat teetering on the edge of PG-13, and they could have really gone all the way with 13, but they can't because they're under strict guidelines and rules for the Fox Kids network, as well as the show as a whole, because they have to market it towards children. And I get that, but if you were going to reboot this thing, there are so many avenues you can go to make it 13, maybe even rated R to a certain extent. But granted, that's a hypothetical, if I were in creative control type of decision.
What do you mean by reboot? I mean, first off, they did reboot with the film that came out a few years ago. Are you talking about this specific season, the rebooting Power Rangers in space?
Yeah, if they were to reboot, they shouldn't, because the series is fine the way it is, even though it's campy. It's 90s cheese, but we can get into that later.
It's nostalgic, yeah.
And the fashion, by the way, the civilian clothes that all the Rangers are wearing, you can tell that they look like they just came from an NSYNC Britney Spears music video from the 90s.
Well,
but you know what? That doesn't bother me because the 90s fashions were just cool, and I dug that. So
I bet you're gonna buy baggy jeans after this.
Yeah, probably. I'll go to my local shop and
one that's 3 sizes too big.
I'll put on the outfit that TJ or Carlos was wearing. I don't know, or a similar outfit.
I mean, they all pretty much dress the same. Like that was the thing. It was the guys would just wear baggy jeans, some skater shoes, and then their whatever shirt. But as long as it was their Power Rangers color, that was the thing.
You had to wear your color. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't work your way around it as much as you may have wanted to. But you know what? The 90s. They were fine. The civilian outfits were fine for what they were wearing. I liked some of them. They were fine. But then again, it's 98.
You're going to tell me that, and we'll get into this now since I want to bring it up. You're telling me that when the Psycho Rangers were introduced and they had to pose as people, you're telling me those outfits were appropriate?
I mean, it kind of.
Okay, hold on.
Well, here's the thing. It gives you, if in any scenario, if someone is looking for you and they're wearing black, all black this and black that, you can tell that they belong to a organization that may not be as friendly, but
I just
it's
love
kind of a giveaway.
I know, but I just love how they're like, all right, you guys are looking like civilians, so we're gonna put you in all black clothing and you're gonna wear black leather jackets.
Yeah.
Like there's like I love how back then it was just like, oh, if you're a bad guy, you wear a black leather jacket or something. Like it was just so stereotypical that
like
it's
Terminator.
hilarious. Yeah, basically, yeah. And then just to elaborate a little bit more, because this is one of the other things I want to get into. Now going back to the evil side of everything, we also midway through, actually close to the last third of the season, we were introduced with another dynamic that was called when the Rangers had to fight the Psycho Rangers. Now, the Psycho Rangers, for all of you that don't know, are basically literally the Power Rangers, but polar opposites. They are pure evil. They have this ability to basically like drain their minds, so that way they can learn more about them, so that way they know how they fight. And then it was just honestly this multiple part series that they kept coming back, but it was the Rangers having to basically kind of fight their evil selves. And I remember that, like, I even told you before we even started watching the show, that was my favorite part. Like, as a kid, I loved that. That was my best takeaway from that show, because they never had that before. They never had evil Rangers. So the fact that they introduced these guys and their suits looked cool. Like, they had, like, they did have the black leather, but it was like they had spiked armor and their helmets looked awesome. Like, they looked badass. So I thought it was a really interesting dynamic, and I loved how when they were fighting, they did the whole plan where it's like, oh, they know how we fight, they know how we think, we're not going to win, so like they decided in the end, like, oh, let's just switch up the colors and maybe we could beat them. And it was just like the simplest like chess match ever, but it was super fun. And they never even really. It was the one thing I didn't remember is how they came to be, and it was just like they just appeared one day because it's like Astronema just made them.
Yeah, I mean, Astronema said that they're made from Dark Spectre, and every time they go out and fight the Rangers, they are draining Dark Spectre's power. So it's kind of like, and that was a cool dynamic too. And I wish they would have played up that a little bit more, where the Psycho Rangers did. Let's say, for example, one or two of the Rangers they couldn't do it, but what if one or two of the Rangers were destroyed?
They couldn't do it.
They couldn't do it, but hypothetically, if the Psycho Rangers knocked off one or two of the Rangers and there were only 3 left, that would really raise the stakes. Number 2, if it were just the Psycho Rangers and Astronema, because the Psycho Rangers fought so much to the point where Dark Spectre's energy was gone, he was completely obliterated halfway or 2/3 of the way through the season, and all that was left was Astronema, Ecliptor, and the Psycho Rangers. That would have been cool dynamic to see. Where does that go in the next couple of episodes, or maybe even the next season?
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that I don't think, from a story aspect, they had their asses covered, because they would have said that since Dark Spectre made them, he made them with the sole purpose, and you can tell from how they act that their sole purpose is they just want to kill their ranger, their specific ranger. So he's he's created these characters where it's just like their sole purpose in life, the only way they're like brainwashed in a way. It's just like, my only purpose in life, my only want in life is to kill my colored ranger, to the point where the Psycho Rangers start turning on each other, because it's like, no, I need to kill my ranger. It's not about you. And there's that whole dynamic. So there's no way in hell that they would ever have those characters from a story aspect ever turn on Dark Spectre or wait for him to die, because that's not their intent. And Dark Spectre wouldn't have been stupid enough, even though he was a very underutilized character, really. I'm just saying he would never have been stupid enough to make these characters with free thought in mind. So there's no way he would have made guys where they would wake up one day and be like, hey, let's just kill this guy. You know, he made dogs. He made evil dogs to do his bidding. That's what it was. That was the one good thing that Dark Spectre did in that show, even though he would always have one quick appearance in almost every episode, and then he would just disappear. But like they used him. That's why that answers your question about why they brought him back from the previous seasons, because they needed just the one guy who was never really in the picture. They could just throw him in to be like, yeah, this exists now because of him. All right, have fun. They used him for that reasons, because if they didn't, then there's all this explaining they have to do for why things show up and origin stories maybe, and they don't have time for that.
Yeah, I get that. I know. I keep playing the whole what if, or if I were in creative control type of situation, where if I were the executive, and even though this is a kid's show, if you wanted to raise the stakes and make it personal and make it a PG-13, maybe teetering between 13 and R, I have my ideas, but then again, that's playing the what if game. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about the season overall.
But let's think about it this way. Let's think of it from the mindset of when this show came out and when we were watching it. Okay,
98. Yeah.
So imagine your mind. So it's like, think of your mindset. Did you have the same mindset at the time? Probably not. You probably thought
20 years ago, I had no idea what my mindset would have been.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to think now a little bit more critical because, we've had a little bit more experience and exposure to the outside world. And like also me coming from a film, background and whatnot, like I share the same thoughts as you. There's creative things that I would want to do now. But as a kid at my age when I was watching that, it was the perfect brew of entertainment. That was like that was the one thing that made me wake up early in the morning as a kid to watch that. Like I had no discipline with sleep whatsoever. You wanted me to go to school, I would I'd be in bed for an extra hour. Like I wouldn't get up. But like when this show was on, I was just like, turn on the TV. Like I was just ready. So like it's just I think for the time, they did really well with playing within the niche that they had for the audience they knew it was for,
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. And I, I remember getting up, watching the show, whether it be in the morning or afternoon after school, and hearing the theme song, seeing them morph, kick and tail, taking names. What is it? Mopping the floor with the Quantrons, the foot soldiers of this season, and then you got Ecliptor coming in, and all the voice actors on this show, and they've been doing this for years. The voice actors in these roles did a really good job. Darkonda, I think, was really good. Ecliptor was even better. He was voiced by Lex Lang. Did a fantastic job as Ecliptor. I mean, he had the perfect combination of I'm Darth Vader, but I'm also kind of like trying to help others. Like I'm trying to help Astronema. And Astronema, with the reveal of her being Andros' sister halfway through the season, I was like, oh, well, okay, you found your sister. Now what? She's trying to kill everybody. What are you going to do? So it's like,
yeah, exactly. They literally proposed that, and then they put it on the table and be like, well, what do you expect to happen now? Like, it's just like, I don't know. What happens?
Yeah, and then they try to turn her into a regular civilian. They give her the jumpsuit to the mega ship. They give her a communicator that's purple.
She gets the blonde hair.
She gets she had naturally blonde hair. Melody Perkins had
so here's
blonde
hair
anyway,
I know she did, but here's my question. Why, what happened? Here, let's look at logistics really quick. When she goes good and she gets the makeover, did they just change her hair, or is it like from a story aspect of it, like did they just completely redo her hair like in the story, or was it like she was always wearing like a wig, like that was just part of her evil persona?
That was just part of her. Yeah, that was just part of her evil persona. Melody Perkins must have had like a dozen different wigs during her time on the show.
Oh yeah,
so she had her fair share of like different hairstyles, or hair colors, I should say. And the outfit, she had two outfits. She had the regular black leather one with a chest plate, and then the other one was a little bit more of a battle outfit, a little bit more silvery-ish type finish, and and some, what do you call it, like hand armor on her wrists or something like that. And I think her staff was two different colors. Like when she's in her regular outfit, it's somewhat of a different type of silver, and then when it's in battle gear, it's a little bit more light silver. I don't know. Maybe I'm speculating.
No. You're right. There's one iteration with her spear. It's like a black rod that goes
like a V. Yeah.
It goes to a diamond, like a silver
diamond shape. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like a silver plate diamond, and then there's another layer on top of that. That's like it looks like it's a gold microchip or something. Yeah. So like so stuff like that. But yeah, it was really cool, and she definitely did go through a lot of looks, especially. There was one point in the season, this was after she realized she was Andros' brother, she went to the light side, and then she actually ended up coming back because she tried to, long story short, help the Rangers, snuck back into her fortress, got caught, and Dark Spectre actually
gave her a headset that reprograms her to become 100% evil. You can't become nice again. You can't do it. So
exactly,
that was cool. That was one of the positives I liked about the series.
And that's when she changed her look. So then they give her the red bob weave or whatever. So she did go through. Red. She went through a lot of looks, but my main thing was getting back to it. I'm just trying to there's something that they didn't explain, which is funny. Is like when she switches back and forth, like early on in the season, going from evil to innocent, like to good. She changes her look. She changes her hair. I can see how, from a story aspect, if she goes from evil to good again, and she decides to make herself a new look, so she changes her hair, fine. But when she goes evil again, what? Who in the story? Like I'm talking characters, not logistics. Like in the real world, I'm saying who in what world does it have where when she goes evil again, her hair has to change? You know what I mean? Like why is it like she can have the blonde hair, but when she goes evil, it's like all right, red hair now. Like it makes me feel like when she finally got brainwashed, in between that time before she showed back up on screen, she was just in the bathroom, just dyeing her hair again, going like, "This is who I am now. I
No,
am evil.
yeah,
Like it's just like
yeah.
there's no explaining to it.
There isn't, but I think it's part of the surgery that she has. Her reprogramming, like Ecliptor, is reprogrammed to be 100% evil. Don't have any feelings of doubt, whatever. When she goes back to being 100% pure evil, they give her a new outfit, they give her a red wig, and they give her the headset that controls her mind. So
I like how it's a choice. Like it's like
Yeah.
if you think of it from a story aspect of it,
part
it's
of
like
the surgery.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dark Spectre's looking over the surgery and they're planning it. Be like, all right, we got the chip and she's brainwashed
Give
now.
her the red hair.
He's like, yeah, good. Let's fix those roots while we're at it. Like like it's just like, wait, hold on, why? It's like, and he's like, oh, no reason, just do it. I'm the leader. Like there's just no explaining it, and it's just funny. Like they flip flopped her aesthetic, which is fine. You get some variety. I think they did that for a cheap way of like not having your character get boring. Like she's like visually changing all the time, so that way you don't get tired of her, because again, she is a character where most of the season she doesn't really do much. She has very little interaction. When she does, it's not a lot, because she doesn't really have that much of a of a background when it comes to all the stuff that they have to do. I mean, neither does most of the cast, because most of the stuff they swap out for stuntmen and whatnot. They had very minimal moments when they had fightings when they were in their civilian clothes, and even then when you see that it's them fighting, it's still a little rough. They're like it's like it's very stiff. The one dude that really impressed me, I know for a fact he can fight really well, is and I'm blanking on his name, but you'll answer for me, is when they actually had a callback to when Carlos was having a lot of internal turmoil, the Black Ranger.
When Adam comes back, Johnny Young Bosch.
Yes, Adam playing as the Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger comes back and basically decides, hold on, let me close this.
Grass cutters.
It got so loud. And then,
I love landscaping.
I know, right? And then so he comes back and he ends up like saving Carlos's life, and then Carlos is like, I don't think I can do this anymore, and then he's like, I'll train you. And then there's this whole montage thing, which honestly felt a little rushed. And then it's Carlos trying to come to terms with the fact that he is brave, he can do this, because he has a love for his team, his family. Like it's not it's not just about him. But there were a lot of scenes that they utilized in there where they had the Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. They had him get into some fights when he was not morphed at all, because they had his morpher like broken, so like he couldn't use it, or else it might potentially hurt him, not kill him, but hurt him. And he pulled it off. I didn't know how well that dude actually could fight. I thought everybody like did it for him. He was doing a lot of impressive flips and stuff, and it was really him. It was really him.
Yeah, he has a great accomplished background in martial arts, all that kind of stuff. And Johnny Young Bosch has been doing it for several decades, so he's a veteran, great veteran, does a lot of good stuff. I've met him once or twice at a convention. Nice guy. So yeah, it was good to see him back in some call. What was it? Also, I know a lot of people dog on this person and a lot of people dog on this character, and for some reason I don't get it. When they did the Turbo and the In Space crossover, when Justin comes back for that one episode, True Blue to the Rescue, Blake Foster comes back a year after his contract was up. To see him come back, I thought it was cool to have the blue turbo suit out, and then you have Lightning Cruiser, and oh man, I forget the name of the other vehicle. I'm blanking on it. But anyway, the point is, I like the crossovers. I don't care if it's from one season or not. I don't care. If it's a good crossover, it's a good crossover. The Turbo crossover within space was fine, even though it was only one Ranger. Fine, who cares? He was the only Ranger that could have come back anyway, because all the other ones had transitioned to the space ones. So
yeah.
I liked it, and then what was it? Astronema, the Quantrons, the Piranatrons were in there. So it's
true, yeah.
They're
using all the old stuff. Yeah, I mean, but that's just their way of being creative.
I like this character. I liked his character, and I like Blake Foster as a human being. I've met him several times at conventions. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe it. And again, this is just from a creative aspect of it. You got to, you're making, if you're in charge of this, you're making a kids show. It's just like, what can we do that hasn't been done before? Because, you're kind of like, you want to try to make a new show where it's like, it's different enough that you're not beating a dead horse. Yes, it is a kids show, but also it's like things can get tiring after a while. So you want to try to spice up, make it interesting, but also you want to keep the interest by throwing back, what was so good about the last one, since it was like successful and everything. So, I mean, I think they did just the right amount of like cameos for like, good and bad people, because they popped up and they had guest appearances, but they never got in the way. So it was just for them to kind of say hi and then leave. I mean, I will admit, like looking at it now, as a kid, it didn't even matter to me, but like having those characters pop up out of nowhere for an episode and then disappear, like the fact that they never explain why they're just happen to be in the area is just like ridiculous. Like when the whole Black Ranger episode, the fact that Carlos was fighting out of everywhere in the world, and then right when like he needs him most, he just comes like the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger just comes out and starts fighting. And he's like, "What are you doing here, Beck? I thought you needed my help, man." I'm like, "Are you following me, bro?" like they never address it.
It's a bit strange, but yeah, seeing all the whether it's the good or the good people, the bad, the enemies of the Rangers, whether it's Divatox, Lord Zed, Rita, because you had all of them come back. You had what was it? Elgar was on the Dark Fortress with Astrono, which was one of the.
He was hilarious.
There are definitely some negatives about this season. Elgar is just one of them.
Why?
I didn't like it. He was a waste. Like he gets killed off in Turbo. They bring him back because apparently he's like one of those cats that has 9 lives kind of thing. So I'm like, all right, fine.
Oh, so you don't like that, but you like Darkonda. That's the reason why I hated him.
It's just
the fact that Darkonda, he's just so irritating. They put him in every episode. I'm like, dude, kill this guy. I'm getting tired of seeing him. And then there's like, right when I realized he had the 9 lives thing, because it took him a couple appearances to establish that, I was just like, oh, they're gonna milk him until the end of the show. Get rid of him. I hate him.
That didn't really bother Elgar, among other things, bothered me about this particular season. There were definitely some negatives.
Wow. Wait, Hunt. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So I make sure we're talking about this. Elgar is Conehead Boy.
Yeah, on the ship. Yeah, on Dark Fortress.
Like, just double check.
I'm like, are you serious? Like, this guy should have been dead. Like,
I know he's there for comedic relief, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you.
We don't need it though.
Here, okay, then explain why they have to have a Vulcan skull.
Once again, another thing I could have done without him.
Oh, okay.
Those 3, like Elgar, Bulk, Skull, and Professor Phenonymous, those 4 characters, I'm like, seriously, why are you here?
You mean
I don't get it.
Oh yeah, well, including the other guy. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is where me and you were going to agree. I get that it's literally kind of part of the universe to always have that Easter egg of Bulk and Skull and everything on their little misadventures, but especially in this season, they showed up very little, and it was always just a random side thing on the side. They used them to try to, I guess, kind of explain how a new creature would get created or how an enemy would get a weapon that the Power Rangers had to stop from using. So they used them for that, but it was so forced and pushed in. And also, I don't feel like they really contributed much to the story. Like, I think they were good when they first started out in Mighty Morphin, but the fact they kind of tried to keep using them, I was like, I got a little tired of them. Like, I know there's going to be a lot of people who are big fans that probably watch this and will just be like, oh, how dare you bash on them. I'm not bashing on them. I think they're cool. I think they're good. It's just, sometimes they just don't fit in stories. They don't always need to be shoehorned in somewhere.
Yeah, those are 4 characters that I would have completely have said, okay, don't need this, completely not going to work, waste of camera time, waste of space, waste of set design. It's just focus on the Rangers, focus on Astronema, focus on Ecliptor, focus on Darkonda. Heck, I mean, I don't want Elgar anywhere near this season, but if he was going to be in it, you can throw him in for 1 or 2 lines of comic relief, but it's like...
That's what they did.
Yeah, but it was every episode. It's like, oh.
No, it wasn't.
Well,
you didn't see him ever. You didn't see. Literally, you saw him.
Maybe half the season. I don't know.
Yes,
to me, it felt like every episode he had to be thrown in there. It's like, no, focus on the Rangers, focus on the mega ship. And by the way, Deca and Alpha, that's enough comic relief. They're fine. Deca was great. Deca's something different we've never seen in a Power Ranger series before. I love that. Alpha having a different voice box, okay, fine. But
Rangers.
Yeah, it just have a different demeanor. Yeah, but no, Deca was cool. The mega ship was cool. The design of it was nice. Like all the other stuff that did, the Galaxy Gliders I thought were great. The Megazord was the Astro Megazord. The Delta Megazord. All that stuff was cool.
Let's get into that then. So basically, so keep going with that. Let's talk about we got these new Rangers. We got the new suits. They look cool. Honestly, one of my favorite Power Ranger suits from the whole series. I have a lot of favorites, but that was definitely one of them.
Sure.
But let's start getting into like their tools and stuff. Let's talk about the ship and everything. Let's talk about their Zords and whatnot. So like, what did you think about them?
All right. Well, talking about the Power Rangers vehicles, weapons, and other resources at their disposal, I guess you want to call it that. Love the mega ship. I would love to live there and travel throughout the universe.
I'd love to have that toy. I love that. I want everything you talk about from this point onward. Just while I watch the show, I would always have the thought of like, man, I wish I had these toys. Like these would have been cool to have.
Well, now that the company Hasbro owns the rights, they may re-release some of this stuff or reboot it, if you will, reboot the toy. But anyway, Mega Ship was great. The Astro Megazord was great. The saber that they use is cool. The shield they use, what was it? The Delta Megazord, the Mega Voyager Megazord. That is something that I thought was even cooler because it was not just more space related, but it had all these different colors on it. All the other other Megazords were like one or two colors, maybe three, but this one was multi-layered, multicolored, multifaceted, and I like that about Mega Voyager. And then Zane's Mega Winger, his was cool too because it was kind of what if the Millennium Falcon could transform into a robot?
This is what it would Gatling guns for hands.
This is what it would look like if the Millennium Falcon could morph into Zane's Mega Winger. I like that, and then they combined the Megazords in different iterations or different episodes of the show, respectively. That was cool. Deca being the mega ship's like artificial intelligence on the ship was fantastic. It was different. It was fresh. So yeah, I liked pretty much all their vehicles. And oh, by the way, Astro Blasters. When they pull them out of their give me one of those, Hasbro, and I will buy that.
If you're going to talk about any season, like what your favorite like Power Ranger suits are, like there's also the conversation on what the favorite weapons are. And honestly, out of all of them, the fact that this time around they gave them like literally they kind of gave them like Wild West feel where they had blasters that they could use. I was like, that's pretty cool. And I will agree with you that like the Zords are really cool. And I did like the one that you were talking about because of the fact that it was more based off of kind of what the other ones were. They had their own Zords that would come together. The reason why that plays so well is because that morphing, that's a symbolic thing. So like you can't really have that with the ship where it's like it's all just the one thing and like it turns into something big. There you go. It's like you need to have that moment of like, let's do it, guys, and then you see everybody coming together to have all these small little Zords make this massive fighter. I'm like, I love that. That's why when that was introduced, I was like, yes.
And instead of a sword to finish the job, like it's been since the very beginning, they use They use Power Punch on one of them, and then they use on the Mega Voyager, they use Mega V3 missile mode. You know, it's like, oh my gosh.
Dude, that was actually one of my favorite. Like that was my favorite move from them. I love the whole animation where they sit there and just, and then and it just starts flying at them. Like that was my favorite weapon attack in that season. Like I love that so much. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, they were all great.
And then they had it where when it comes back to the weapons aspect of it, I thought it was really cool that they gave them blasters, but they also made it unique where every single Ranger had their own specific like activated weapon that they could like yell out and summon. I know that Spiral Saber, thank you. And then I know that the Pink and Yellow Ranger, they had projectile weapons, and I can't remember the names, but the Yellow Ranger had the slingshot, and then
this is why I'm here. I remember all these things. Let's go down the line here. What was it?
Red Ranger.
Andros had the Spiral Saber. Carlos had the Lunar Lance. TJ had Astro Axe. Ashley, the Yellow Ranger, had Star Slinger. And Cassie, the Pink Ranger, had Satellite Stunner. And then when you put the four of them together, Carlos says Quadro Blaster. And then Andros says Spiral Saber with his Astro Blaster. And then they fire projectile shots to their monster, or they fire shots into the monster to destroy him or whatever. So yeah, good weapons, good on them. If I were going to have one, I'd probably go with a Spiral Saber or an Astro Axe. Those two would be my personal preference.
Yeah, no, they are definitely cool. I think I would lean more towards getting a blade of some sort, but then again, this goes into a separate conversation. If I were to get one, I'd want a Quasar Saber, but that's a different season for a different conversation. Yeah. But I thought it was really cool. And again, they did it again just with the Zords like it should be. They had weapons, they all had their own unique one, but then they could bring them together to make one massive overpowered thing that they could use to take down the enemy. I really love that dynamic because then it gives you the option, especially as a kid, where every single character is different and unique in their own way, not just based off of their color, but they have their own things that they have. So it's like as a kid, you can watch and go, oh, that's really cool. Like I want that. Like I love them for that. I think that's so cool. Like give them from a technological standpoint some diversity, and like you can start to like pick your favorites, and it gives a lot of variety to the show. And that's one of the things that really spiced it up a little bit, and I liked it a lot. Yeah. But I don't think all of them had it. I think it was only Andros, and it didn't even explain it. It just came in like right on the back half of the season. This is why you're here. When he like activates like his superpower mode, and now he's in an all beefed up suit with wings.
Oh, yeah, battle mode. Yeah,
battle mode. First off, why did he never use that before?
Because he was afraid, because there's 1, 2, and 3 on his wrist. And then Sylvie says, well, what happens if when you push 3? And then Andrew's just like, no, can't risk it. Could be too powerful. I might not be able to take it. And I'm like, dude, you're a Power Ranger. You can take whatever. I mean, you guys are supposed to be the most powerful Rangers yet, and you're afraid to push number 3 when you're able to use one is his power punch, 2 is I think a blade arm or some advanced part of his weapons on his suit, and then 3 is the battle armor. It's like, dude, come on. If you can use it, anyone can. Don't be afraid. Sylvie's like, well, what happens if you push 3? It's like, we don't know. It could be a nuclear. It could be a blast. I don't know.
Just
do it.
I just love that. That's just like they didn't have the option at the time. They didn't want him to be too OP, so they just waited, and then that was the excuse when they had to ride. Like, oh, I'm just afraid. But I will tell you this though, even though it did come out of nowhere, when that did happen and he was all bulked up, I was looking at it going like, that's actually a really good looking suit. Like, wow, that's actually really well done
Not bad.
Yeah, like the craftsmanship on it wasn't that bad. Like, and he was all like, they had the fake muscles and everything, and they had like the see-through like technological chest and the wings. And I was just like,
it's like a little bit RoboCop. Terminator. Yeah,
exactly. And I was just like, I dig it. And it's funny because they had to add on the fake muscles because like he's just like, yeah, give him that extra.
Give him the Hulk arms. I don't know.
Basically, it's like, hey, why can't you look like that when you're not wearing the suit? It's like, hey, easy.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was one of the cool, backup kind of elements to the show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it was just again, it plays on the variety, and it's in some aspects really well done. And again, I have to give the show props compared to other ones because again, like yes, it's a little campy. We're not debating that, but overall, it's like. I mean, it's still something that even now you can sit down and easily like and watch, and it's still somewhat captivating. There are going to be moments where you're kind of going to get a little tired of it because I knew like on the leering towards the end, I was just like, this needs to be resolved, or I'm going to go crazy, or this person needs to die, Tarkanda. But I just regardless, it's I don't know. There's something about these. It just brings back memories. Every time an episode came up that really stuck with me, whether it was the Psycho Rangers or the "She's my sister" moment, like that's like those are ones that I remember from childhood, like those little snippets of memory. So when they played out, I went, yeah, here it is. Like I remember this. It was just so good.
Well, let me ask you this: what are our thoughts on the 6th Ranger that came into play this season with Zane, played by Justin Nemo? What do we think of the Silver Ranger?
Okay, so I'm surprised. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm surprised I was about to glance over that because I have a thing where every single season of Power Rangers, they're usually almost out of every single season, not the really newer ones. I stopped watching because those we don't talk about them. But every time there was the one unique 6th Ranger, I always was on board with them. I thought they were the coolest. Zane was my favorite. I love the Silver Ranger because first off, he just looks cool. Silver and gold, he just stands out, and he has the whole mentality where he just shows up like out of nowhere right when they need his help. Like, don't worry, guys, I got you. I'm like, yeah, you do, Zane. But I thought he was really cool. I loved his whole aesthetic with his suit, and especially when he was in his ship when he was on board. The black and the silver. I thought the tones were nice. I thought he looked cool. He seemed like a pretty good character. I think they could have done a little more with him instead of just be a safeguard for when things were going south. He could jump in. Yeah. It started off pretty decent at the beginning, where there might have been a love triangle going on, but then it was brushed off. But I think he was a good character. I love his look. I love him as a whole, and I think they played it as well as they could with him being like childhood friend that was injured, and this whole time he was just frozen in a hidden room in the back. And it started to slowly get into, all right, you're shoehorning in a little too much, but it wasn't so bad that I was completely turned off by it. So overall, I think he was pretty good as a character, and I liked everything he brought to the table. I wish he could have done more though.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. But him fighting along with the Rangers during the Psycho Rangers bit, and he dressed up as the Silver Psycho Ranger to throw everything off.
Favorite suit. That's and like my favorite suit.
People have been saying for years, it's like, oh, that's one of the best moments. And people have been cosplaying as that character at conventions. So I appreciate the fans who do that and put all that ingenuity into their outfits. But Zane is a character. I thought he was cool. The relationship he tries to have with Astronema was really lame, really dumb. I mean, it's funny when you look at it, but it's like, it's really not going to work, dude. She wants to kill everybody, and you're trying to date the enemy. What's this? And then halfway through, when they find out who's who, and then Andros is like, dude, you tried to go out with my sister? Hey, man, it was only one time, okay? Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
And then they do the cheesy 90s laugh. They're like,
yeah,
they try to play phrases and credits roll.
Yeah, they try to play it off of one another, so that's kind of silly. But I
Yeah.
get what they were going for. But yeah, that whole dynamic they tried to establish between him and Astronema, that was just really.
Yeah, well, you didn't really.
I don't think it's going to work out, kid, but you can try.
I think the only reason why they put that in there was so they could have a way of like, because they already knew that Astronema was supposed to be a kind of split down the middle type of character, where she's of course dealing with who she really is. So I think having him as an additional character to try to sprinkle in, maybe being good isn't as bad as you think. I think they were just trying to give her more reasons to like realize that being good is the right way to go, so that way it wasn't such a dramatic change. But then again, I still felt like it was kind of still abrupt.
Yeah, no, I get it. But yeah, Zane as a character, I thought he was cool. I liked his suit, the Super Silverizer, his blade that he uses,
Yeah,
his main
I love
weapon,
it.
and then he can change into a blaster. That's really cool. I liked that. Some of the stuff I liked about some of the weapons and vehicles that the Power Rangers used, that was certainly some of them. But yeah, Zane, good Sixth Ranger. I thought they did the best with what they could with what they had at the time. Justin Nima played the character as best he could. He was fine. I have no problems with him. I mean, I look forward to meeting him and the other Rangers at convention somewhere down the line. But I think if anyone, as far as when it comes to acting, like who did the best acting, if I were going to give like a now, granted, I know it's a children's show, so there's only so much acting you can do.
Yeah.
But as far as acting goes, if I were going to give an award to anybody, I'd give it to Melody Perkins as Astronema, playing the evil one and then trying to be good halfway through, and then she plays evil, and then at the very, very end she becomes good again. It's like she went through a lot of layers that season, and she had to put up a lot for a young actress of her age, but she did it, and she did it pretty darn well while wearing 12 different wigs, 3 different outfits. Actually, I think it was 5 or 6 different outfits at the time.
Dude, it was like they started doing subtle changes that you really have to be paying attention to.
It's insane. But for her to do all that and then come out the other side as a good person at the end, like that's
you know what?
That's something else.
I'm going to agree with you. I honestly would wholeheartedly agree with you, because of the fact that, yes, exactly like what you said, she was the one actress in that show where they had to, the guys who were making the stories had to literally push her acting abilities in every possible direction. And again, with the content you're getting from a kids show, the writing and stuff, it's not dotted up so well that you can really play this stuff out. It's got a beat to it, so you have to move at a fast rhythm. So she has to really take these short moments that she has to try to make this feel natural and everything. And I think she did the best with what she had. I felt that I liked it, because sometimes in these shows you get these characters, and when they need to have moments when they should be trying, that like the actor themselves, sometimes you can feel like maybe they just don't really care, and you can feel that in the performance. I could tell from her that there were a lot of moments where she actually tried to put in as much as she could with what she had. I could feel that she was trying her hardest, and it really showed. And I honestly did kind of sympathize with her as a character. Like, I thought when I was going back to rewatch this, knowing what was going to happen, I thought that I was going to hate her, because usually like the villains are always just super, super irritating. But she was the only one on the evil side that I stayed with. Like, I thought she was fine. Like, yes, there were moments when she had to act, when she was like evil. She was just kind of like, her whole thing, like just how her mannerisms were. Sometimes they were a little bit too campy. I'm just like, okay, slow your roll. But besides those moments, I think she did play it off really well. And I think she was a favorite of mine. She did really well for what she had, and honestly did better than most of the cast on that show, and honestly even some other seasons. Like, she executed well, let's be honest.
I think she did. So Melody Perkins, we look forward to seeing you at convention somewhere down the line. But my next question to you, before we move into one of the bigger questions we have during the course of this show, what do we think of the theme song for this season? What do we think of the theme song for Power Rangers?
I absolutely love it.
Okay.
I like that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rangers in space. Like, it's just what a song from a childhood aspect. You love a song or what your favorites are if you can still, like, after all these years know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of the few theme songs from the season, from respective seasons of Rangers, that you can't forget. I mean, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 going into space, and then you hear the same musician performing the lyrics, or performing the theme song, and you hear the guitars rolling, and you see all the Rangers coming up on the screen. You see Astronema come up on the screen. You see Zane come up, and it's like, yep, you know what you're in for. You're going to get something crazy. You're going to get something intergalactic. You're going to get something galactic, universal, whatever. And then was it go in space, and then it just wraps up all in a neat bow at the end. I think
Yeah.
the theme song is only 30 to 45 seconds, so they do it pretty
It's not,
quickly.
yeah, it's not long, and they try to keep the consistency, like how when the shows like first got started, where it's that rocker, like hard guitar chords, just like it's supposed to, as a kid, like once it starts going, you're like, oh, here we go, like
It's a rhythm.
It's just again, it hits that nostalgia feeling, but it's different enough, and the lyrics, they're not anything too complex, but they don't have to be. They're just catchy, they're fun. It's something. You wrote a catchy song because that's one of the ones where if you hear it at least once or twice, then you're going the rest of the day, and then you're just sitting there going, "Go Power Rangers, go Power!" God dang, no, like it just gets stuck in your head. That's how you know how catchy it is. I think they did a really good job with that. That is one of my favorite theme songs that they have. Like that, and then my other, like the other one is and again, we'll get in this conversation another time, but Lost Galaxy, that was another one of my favorites. Because they did the whole like Power Rangers, Lost Galaxy.
Yeah.
Like it was just so catchy.
No,
but yeah, I love the theme song.
Yeah, there's some good things in there. So we know every season has a beginning, but now we know every season has an end. And this one was one of the bigger, more epic finale of an ending. Some Ranger fans out there consider this to be the best finale of any season of Power Rangers history. They say it's the cream of the crop. It's the pinnacle.
I don't
think Power Rangers could do at the
any
time.
Season has done this before.
And Ranger fans talk about this all the time. They rank this as like the best finale overall. They have this season overall, Power Rangers in Space, is in their top 3, top 2, top 5, whatever. So my question to you is, Countdown to Destruction, parts 1 and 2. It was a 2-part finale. You had all the Rangers from most of the seasons come back. You had a lot of the enemies from those seasons come back. It was one giant galactic, pretty much a universal war that was going on during the course of these 2 episodes. My question, to start things off with you, respectively, what did you think of the finale overall? And if you could go back and change anything, what would you change, if anything? What are your positives, maybe negatives, and what would you change if you could for Countdown to Destruction parts 1 and 2? Your thoughts?
Okay, so let's start off by saying that I think the major controversial part, like the long gist of it, is how the season basically ended. The 2-parter was Astronema finally took over the universe, and now we have this dynamic where Andros wants to save her, but she seems like she's too far gone, and even the world is turning on her completely, but she's got everybody kind of enslaved. And then when he goes to finally try to confront her, we finally get to see Zordon. Andros is on his own at this moment. He finally gets to find him after this whole season. They finally get rejoiced, and then they realize, and Zordon tells him the only way to solve this, the only way to stop these evil forces, and this is the only way, is to break my chamber and release my goodwill or whatever into the universe and save the universe. Like, that is the only way. There's no saving Zordon and the universe, and it's one or the other. I love that so much because I don't think they ever had it in any season. I'm probably wrong. But this is the one I remember where they never did it before, where they gave them such a harsh choice, where you would take such a poignant character like Zordon and be like, you have to get rid of him in order to conclude this chapter. I love that because then that gives the character a massive decision with consequences. And he can go either way. You know which one he's going to lean towards, but like part of you, like kind of like when I was watching it, when he gave him that choice, I thought, oh, he's probably going to refuse. Then maybe he's going to realize there's another way, and then everybody's all happy and whatever. No, they go through with it and they actually do it. And I was like, you know what? Good on them. It sucks that that's what had to happen to Zordon, but like I love that they gave him a dramatic choice, and then they went through with it. And yes, with the realistic consequences of that choice of Zordon being gone, like that's what happens. Like I love that. I love big decisions with consequences. That's why I give the ending to the show a really good rating, and also adding on to the extra Star Wars. It's literally Star Wars again. It's like he has to go kind of kill Palpatine, but also save his father. It's just, I get it. Like it just works out well. I think the whole Astronema thing, I think she played it up at this point. Since it's the end of the show, she had enough experience. She was still being able to play up the I'm mentally entangled. I don't know. I'm struggling internally. Played that really well. I feel like that could have been played out a little bit better for the finale. But besides that, all in all, I love the character changes. I love the decisions. I love how they kept it to just Andros. Because I mean, you don't really need. Because I think what we can see is this whole story. it was the story for Andros, not necessarily Power Rangers. I think this was a story arc for Andros as a character because I really felt like it revolved around his world. So this story gave him a good beginning, middle, and end dealing with his background and turmoil. But I love the ending. I love the decision. And I think it really made us understand and sympathize with Andros more as a character as a nice send-off.
So you think it's great the way it is? Is there anything you would change about the finale if you could, or you think it's perfect the way it is?
Like, there's always something I feel like you could change. I would just say they should dot up the relationship with his sister. I think for the finale, I think there should have been a little bit more that happened there.
I see.
Because I like the decision that they made with her. Like, he accidentally kills her. It's like it was an accident. I love all that. That. Part of me kind of wishes, if I would have changed anything, this is me being a dick, but I think it's just better storytelling. If they would have kept her dead to the point where he had to live with that,
oh man,
that would have made a perfect story. Because then he could have gone off and still do however they left off, where they all regroup and they go back on the space, like to Earth, to their event, like staying together. Could have still done that, but to have him like always have that reminder, like maybe wearing her necklace saying, "I'll never forget you," to have it where you had to make those decisions and you lost a loved one, more than one along the way, but in different ways, that would have been perfect. The fact they brought her back, I was just like, come on, give him some turmoil.
Yeah.
Let him live with a sacrifice. Come on.
And the thing about that is that she was brought back to life with a tear from Andros' eyes.
Oh my God,
and then she suddenly turns good again. And then, by the way, the actor has gone on record. That's one of the things he would have changed. It's like, was it Christopher Kamen Lee who plays Andros? I think he said in an interview somewhere where he's like, well, if I were going to change anything about that finale, it's like, how can Andros bring somebody back with a tear? Like, what is that? That's just,
that was so cheap. Like, I cringed so much when the tear dropped and hit her. I was like, oh no. And then once I saw, you literally see her in front of your eyes morph back into good blonde mode. I was like, oh, come on.
I know. Where have we seen this before? Wasn't this in the movie Peter Pan or something like that? I don't know. It's probably some other Disney movie. But anyway, my thoughts are this. When it comes to Countdown to Destruction, the 2-part finale, I liked it, but there's definitely some more they could have done with it. But overall, when watching it now, 22 years later, to almost to the day, it almost. I got to say, it's a good finale for what it was. I think it's a good finale for what it was. They raised the stakes. They show you images, and they show you the other Rangers on other planets getting their butts kicked. They show you the previous enemies coming back and dominating their respective worlds. You have the Zeo Gold Ranger was in there. You had the Phantom Ranger. You had the Blue Centurion.
It was a very big throwback moment for all the fans.
It was a huge moment. Don't get me wrong. And then at the end, where the people come to rise up in Angel Grove and say, no, I'm the Blue Ranger. No, I'm the Red Ranger. I'm the Pink. Like, that's never happened in the history of the show. That's never happened. When people rise up and stick up for the Rangers like they did, that was a really good moment.
It gave a greater sense of humanity. Yeah, that was definitely a good pro.
That was good stuff. And then Bulk and Scar are like, let's get in there. Who's with me?
Yeah, the one time it would have made sense to have them in there when they actually did something. Every other time, no. But this one, I gave it to them. I was like, all right, I like this moment.
Yeah, it was a good moment. So yeah, overall, I think the finale was good. I thought they could have brought back, heck, they brought Justin, the Blue Turbo Ranger, back. They could have brought him back one more time. They could have brought Adam. They could have brought a bunch of different Rangers back to do one more battle. But then again, I understood that they were in a tight spot. They had a budget that you could only use to their advantage. They only had so much money and time that they could shoot this.
I will say this, though, noticing the set design and everything, I think they really saved up and they went a little bit more all out for the budget for the last
did.
The 2-parter, because the set design, like the rubble and everything, I was watching it going, oh yeah, they definitely, since they knew this was the finale, they threw some money at it just to make the sets look better at least. Like it was, they put it up a notch, because they knew this was the end. Let's make it as good as we can, I guess.
No, yeah, and I completely understand that. There are some things I would have thrown in some more Rangers. I would have thrown in a few more cameos here and there. But for what they did with the budget that they had, I thought it's pretty good. I think it holds up to a certain degree. So I will give the credit where credit is due. All the people working behind the scenes, working behind the camera, you guys busted your chops those couple of weeks you were shooting that. So good on you. Congrats. It was a heck of a finale. But to kind of sum this up, Power Rangers in Space, it went down in 1998. A lot of fans have it as one of their best seasons of all time. Where would you rank this if you had to make a list of your top 5, maybe even of your top 3, if you want to keep it, simple? Where does Power Rangers in Space rank amongst your favorite seasons of the Power Rangers series?
Well, it's definitely in top 5, but let's just do top 3 to narrow it down more. It's definitely in the top 3. I have to really go back into the recesses of my mind and double check, because there are a couple other seasons I know I like. I just don't, it's been a while since I've watched them, so I need to see how they stack up. but it's definitely in the top 3. I would say it's either third or second, depending on what my other ones are. But it's definitely up there because it's, like I said, nostalgia. Like, it's one of the seasons I remember wholeheartedly as a kid, and even bringing it up, like watching it again now, it held up more than I thought it would. I didn't feel like I was forcing myself to watch it. It was a pretty easy watch through again. I had those moments where I was like, oh, I remember this. It's so cool. It's like, oh, that's classic. And it had stakes. That yes, there were areas that I could have done better, but in comparison to some other seasons that they've had in the past, you know, like they're better off than most. So yes, definitely in the top 3 for me. Definitely something to acknowledge. And again, it's something to always go back and watch it if you're a fan. And if you've never watched, you know, Power Rangers before, it's never too late to start. And this is definitely a good one to watch. So.
Yeah, definitely, because at the time the ratings were going down. But then the ratings at the end of the series skyrocketed to the point where, hey, remember when we said we were going to cancel you guys at the end of the season? Yeah, well, we lied because the ratings were so good. We're going to bring you back for another year. Which
it was so good, it saved Power Rangers.
It saved the franchise as a whole, and then it brings us to other seasons that include, you know, Lost Galaxy and beyond. But we can talk more about that later. As far as Power Rangers in Space, where does it rank amongst my favorite seasons? After watching it, some things are good about it. Some things I could kind of go without. Some things are a bit cringy.
Always, but
supporting characters. I'm looking at you guys. I'm gonna have to put it in Space. Honestly, I'd have to put it in 4th. I have to put it in 4th because as much as I love the Psycho Ranger subs,
don't you dare bash the Psycho Rangers.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just saying I love the Psycho Ranger storyline. I like the finale to a certain degree. But overall, some things were good about the season. Some things I'm like, oh man, that doesn't really. I don't know if that works or not. So I put Power Rangers in Space in 4th. If I were going to rank my top 3, I have to go back and watch some of these seasons because it's been a while. I'll give you that. But if I were going to rank Power Rangers, 1 for me is Time Force. 2 would probably be Lost Galaxy, if not Lightspeed. And then 2 and 3 would be a mixture between either Lost Galaxy is 2 and then Lightspeed Rescue is 3, or I would switch the 2, vice versa. And then number 4 for me would be Power Rangers in Space. But then again, that's just my ranking. You guys can rank the Power Rangers seasons however you want. Take it with a grain of salt. But I got to say, this was fun, taking a trip down memory lane. I want to thank everybody for watching this. We appreciate you guys. We've got a lot of subscribers recently. We got a lot of new videos up now. We got some new ones coming your way very soon. We want to take this opportunity to say thank you for joining us for this special episode. Going back, we're talking about Power Rangers in Space. We want to know what you have to say about this. What are your favorite moments from this season? Where does this rank amongst your favorite Power Rangers seasons? Who are your favorite characters? Who are some of your least favorite characters? What did you think about certain storylines over the other? Leave any and all your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at It's Nerd Culture. And also, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And as always, may the power protect you all.
Yes, and thank you again for watching our new playlist, Nerd and Chill. And behalf on both me and Ryan, being Power Rangers fans, let's rock it! I always do this. Like, my go-to is just this all the time.
It's all good.
But thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. I think this was really fun. And I don't know if you mentioned it. If you guys want to see more of this, let us know, because there are many other seasons of Power Rangers we could definitely watch, and I would be down. Yes, I already started. So let us know down in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in. Bye, guys.